Oh man, we're back with another Molly's Mind, and if I get dressed up nicely, that means I care about this. So Molly's channel is blowing up. Well, not channel. Your playlist is blowing up within Corin's world, and there's a lot of topics that we talk about in our household that I think relate to a lot of the people that watch, which is why they're interested. And one topic that is pretty important to me now that I've been with you for a while, but prior to that, it wasn't that important to me. And that's the topic of, should people have pets? I grew up in a household with no pets. It never once crossed like my parents' minds. It never crossed my mind, my brother's mind, my sister's mind to ever get a pet. Dog, cat. I think I might have had a couple like goldfish in middle school or something like that. But to me, I think while there's a lot of good to having a pet, I feel from being a pet owner now, there's a lot more just burden it brings onto people. Cost, it's very expensive. It brings, could bring on depression if someone's dog passes away or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I think this is an interesting topic for us because we have differing of opinions. I grew up not like thinking pets were, pretty much important. I still think they're a little, when people get really passionate about their dogs, I sort of like don't have that soft of a heart for them. But tell your background on pets a little bit, because I know you've grown up with dogs. But like, do you feel, obviously you feel that they're important, but why do you think that people should have dogs?
Yeah, so I always grew up with pets. I've had a ton of different animals I've always had a dog in my life. And then we've had...
Starting from what age?
My whole life, since I was born.
So like super young.
Since I was born. There was always a pet in my house. There was only 1 year, not even a full year, like half a year where I didn't have a pet. And that was senior year when one of my pets passed. But I've had dogs. I had a cat for a couple of days. I've had birds, fish, guinea pig, gerbil, lizards,
Jeez.
Tortoise, snapping turtles. There was one I was forgetting. But all of those pets, again, I'm one of 7.
Yeah.
So they were not all my pets. For me, personally, I'm a dog person. I'm like a dolphin person, a horse person. I am not a rodent person. I am not a reptile person. But we had those pets in my house because my siblings wanted those types of pets.
Yeah.
But for me, dog person, not any other type of household pet person.
So I grew up, I guess when you have 7 people in your household, out of one of those 7, there's going to be someone who's interested in some type of like animal, whether it's a bird or like even just deer or something like that, if you grow up in that area of upstate New York. But like, to me, when I hear when you get a dog at such a young age, like you open yourself up to so many things that like I never experienced as a young kid, because a dog in a sense is almost like a human being. They can get diseases, they can they get tooth infections, like on a smaller scale. They go through everything that a human being goes through. That's something that like I feel a 3-year-old almost shouldn't like experience that like sadness at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, getting a pet, you're taking a risk, but a 3-year-old, unfortunately, at a young age could lose a parent. They could lose...
But is that the same as losing like a pet?
I mean, that's 100% more traumatic.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So like...
But you're not guaranteed to lose a pet at 3 years old. I mean,
but,
it depends when you get your pet. If you get a pet right away when your kid is born... Okay, so for example, I have a friend who got a puppy and then the same year had a baby. So the puppy and the baby are born in the same year. That kid's going to grow up with that puppy, and that puppy might live to be 15 years old. So they're not experiencing a loss at age 3. Now, in our situation, our dogs are old. They're 12 years old. They are definitely at the back end of their life. So our daughter is definitely going to experience loss at some time in a young age. But, I mean... whether you lose a pet or not, I mean, people still experience real, not that pet loss isn't real, but human loss every day. I mean, people lose relatives and people that are close to them, and that's not something we can control. I mean, you can't control when your animal is going to die. Obviously, they have a shorter life expectancy, so you can gauge, okay, between 10 to 18 years, this dog is going to die, but you also get great memories and a lot of fun and great times with your pet. I mean, I think there's so many bonuses for a lot of different people, if depending on what their lifestyle is and whatnot. There's a lot of bonuses to having pets.
I think there's certain reasons why someone could have a pet, and it could be good for a kid in a sense that it teaches them responsibility. It teaches them how to protect something. A lot of times, parents will get a dog or a cat or any type of animal, a lizard or whatever, a parrot, for their child, and they'll tell them, you're gonna be the main caregiver of this animal. You take care of it, you walk it, you feed it. So in some sense, it gives a kid some good responsibility and values at a young age, which I see as good. But then there's the flip side where a lot of the times that animal gets neglected. I want to ask you quickly, because
I don't want to lose this train of thought.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Let's just even think of me versus you and just the way we live our lives and responsibility. Me growing up with pets, we had to walk them after school. We had to walk them before school.
I know where this is going.
I know how to I am a responsible adult, and I think part of that is pets, part of that is a martial arts background and all of these other things. Part of that is the way my parents raised me. But just in general, the way I live my life versus the way you live your life, and when it comes to all things, buying a house, paying bills, all of these things, responsibilities, you would definitely keep our child alive if I wasn't here, but just even all of that falls on me, and part of that is because I just kind of do it, and that's just the way I am. But also I learned responsibility at a very young age, and my parents weren't people who spoon-fed me anything in life.
What are you trying to say?
Well,
I hope my parents aren't watching right now.
Okay, what was your thought?
I don't know what my thought was, but that makes a lot of sense. But on the flip side, I've seen a lot of young kids with pets who, like I said, their parents will say, you take care of them, you're responsible for them. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of kids, and I've heard stories from your parents that a lot of that burden goes on to the parents, which, whether they do that or not, a lot of the times parents, I'm sure, take care of their people who are watching. I'm sure you went off to college or sleepaway camp or done something for an extended amount of time where you've asked someone to watch your pet. I think it's tough on a pet too, because a lot of the times they get neglected, they get not fed, or they have to go back to the shelter, or it's just, I mean, obviously we think it's good for people to have pets, but I don't think people talk about it enough of should people have pets?
Well, I mean, should people have kids? I mean, plenty of people have kids who shouldn't have kids that aren't fit to be parents. That doesn't, mean that. I mean,
well, people
can have kids, and they're doing crack on the street, and they could have a kid. And then there's people who are fit to be a parent, and they have a really difficult time having a kid. But having a pet, I mean, it's the same thing. Anybody could buy a pet or adopt a pet or pick a pet up off the side of the road if it's a snapping turtle like we did in our case. But that doesn't mean you're fit to be...
You picked up a snapping turtle off the...
That's where we got the snapping turtle. It was on the side of the road in Canandaigua, and my mom was like, we have to save these turtles.
I've always thought about that. It's any crazy person can... And you've seen probably viral videos of people that have, just been driving, and they'll, make some random animal their pet, and by all you have to do is put a leash onto something, and now it's technically your pet, which is wild to me. I've seen pet squirrels. I'm sure there's a viral video of that one kid who's got the deer in his backyard and he feeds them.
Oh, I might sneeze.
It's not gonna happen now.
I know, and I wanted it to, but okay.
But it's just crazy to me that that you could just put a leash onto any type of pet, and then it technically is yours. So it's just the whole concept of it seems strange to me. I I feel it
it's
made me.
kind of strange, like just the thought of like we take animals that and then like we domesticate them, but now like these dogs, that's they're bred, or even if you're adopting a pet, that over time, I mean, they've just become domesticated. If we took our dog and we're like, here you go in the wild, they wouldn't survive 2 minutes. Like they aren't.
You don't know that. I mean, they have like instincts.
And we'll talk about another time nature versus nurture, but I will say with pets, I always thought this was really interesting. When you get a brand new puppy, a dog, anytime you have a dog, like the fact that they know when they go to the bathroom to cover their poop is like, how do they know that? Like if you adopt a dog who was just kind of like, didn't, like or let's say you had gotten a dog from a breeder who never even went outside to go to the bathroom. So like if you had a brand new puppy and they only stayed inside with the mom, the first time you bring them outside to go to the bathroom, eventually they know to they kick the grass over.
I've never seen a dog like straight from birth and then its first bathroom experience. So like I can't speak to it, but like
no, but I know I haven't.
But I'm curious.
We don't breed animals,
I know.
But I do know that's something that they do.
Oh, okay.
And that's like a nature thing, like that they know to like cover because they're
I'd be
covering
curious,
their scent.
because like you always say, come with facts, and I don't know if you have facts on that one, but like if it's true that like the first time they go to the bathroom, if they kick their feet and cover it up, that would be pretty interesting.
Listen,
because
we've had Charlie since he was. I don't even know where Charlie came from, but he was literally this big. Like he wasn't going outside to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess I do have experience. Like Charlie fit in one hand.
Yeah, they're tiny.
So like he wasn't going outside to the bathroom. Like he covers his poop. Like so it's just interesting. And he didn't have at the time. We just had Charlie. It's not like he learned that from another dog.
Yeah.
So I mean that's
I'm trying to compare it to like
time,
I'm trying to compare it to like if we potty train our daughter. Like every time you potty train a young kid, you probably would tell them to flush the toilet.
Yeah, but that's different. This is like
just instinctually they know.
They're covering their tracks, like they're covering their scent.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything that we do? Like, I think instinctually, I don't know. I feel like when a baby farts, they must smile or something because they know it's funny.
No.
You don't think so?
No.
That could sort of be related to the same way. Like, it's just a natural reaction to laugh after you fart.
Do people like laugh when they fart?
100%. Someone please. Everybody should say they laugh when they fart. It's It's just like.
Let's just get on it. That took a weird turn.
Okay.
So,
I'm gonna take a little slack here from the cat community, but here's why I think I have a little bit more sympathy for dogs, just because I feel like, and I've never really had a cat. I've always been allergic to cats, so cats are not really my thing. I'm sorry. I will still love you if you don't like me because I don't like cats. But I feel like a dog can relate to a human a little bit more. They sort of react to what you're telling them, sit, stand, whatever else dogs do. Whereas cats, I don't think, can you train cats?
I mean, some people will say they have cats that they've trained like dogs. Like, there are some cats out there that
I've
are
never seen that.
We've never had cats, so
True.
we can't, I had a cat for a couple of days, but you and I have never had a cat and trained a cat from the time it was a kitten and so, I mean, I think that's just not fair to say because we've never had cats.
True.
And, you've never had dogs until...
Yeah, I started dating you.
with me. And so people with cats, I mean, it's different. I mean, it's a different animal. Like, every animal is different and they all, interact differently.
Yeah,
so
they
cats are different. And some people like that. Some people like the way cats interact with them and they don't want to have to pet a dog and walk a dog. And, I mean, just because we're not cat people, I mean, I have nothing against cat. It's just, it's not my type of animal.
Here's my thing with pets, and I think it boils down to this. I think there's all different, categories of types of people, and their, I guess, their relation to pets. So, I'm in a category that it's just, I've never had a pet. I don't have sympathy for people. Now I do a little bit more, but,
What do you mean when you don't have sympathy?
I do have sympathy for someone when their dog passes away and they get really upset or something like that.
So in the past, so some people will say, my dog passed, can I have a couple days off work? So you're saying, like, in your mind, you're like, okay, that's a bit ridiculous.
Yes. So to me, it's.
So you have to understand, like, some people with their pet, like, let's say they live alone or they don't have kids and even people who do have kids and do have families and stuff, like, the dog is part of their family.
Yeah.
You know, like, I will be so sad when Bella and Charlie pass. Like, Bella has been, like, my favorite dog out of all the dogs I've ever had. Like, just her personality, and I will be sad. I mean, I don't know that I would need to take a day off of work, but some people...
I agree, yeah.
You know? And I kind of handle even, like, human people passing, like, very different. Like, everybody grieves differently.
I know, and so let me finish my thing. So I think there's a bucket of people like me.
Okay, but that's what you mean when you mean sympathy.
Yeah,
like
yes. I don't, it sounds messed up, but I don't feel as bad. Like, I'm, like, sort of get over it type of thing, which is messed up, but that I'm more on the side of I'm with you now because we have 3 dogs. Mm-hmm. So then there's that bucket of people who've never really had dogs or cats or any type of pets. And then there's people that have had pets that are just normal pets, like a dog, a cat, a bird, or something. But then there's a weird category of people that have, I won't say your brother's name, but your brother strikes me as a person that would just have a strange, he's had what, like iguanas or something like that?
He had a bearded dragon.
A bearded dragon.
And a tortoise.
So to me, I would never, like, that would never cross my mind to have that pet.
Yeah.
And that's, it's just mind-boggling to me because I read some articles of people that have, like, lions or monkeys, and these people get, like, attacked by them or something like that.
Yeah, but people who have lions and monkeys and giant boa constrictors are a different category of people. They're having these exotic pets for, like, the show of it. To be like, hey, I have this giant tiger, like, come over to my house for a party. Like, they're not just like
Mike Tyson or
yeah,
something.
They're not like this just, like, everyday person who's like, I have a monkey. I mean, maybe people with a monkey are like, they're cute, they're fun, but people who have, like, these giant wild snakes, it's for show. It's not for, like, companionship.
That's
like
true.
A lot of people who have, like, dogs and cats, like, you buy it because they're, like, part of, or you get it because it's part of your family, and it's like, you know, you want that pet to be a part of your family. But if you're buying some, like, wild exotic animal, you're buying that animal because you're trying to show off.
That's true. Okay, so let's
oh my gosh.
Let's finish this.
A cough and a sneeze.
Let's finish this part of the debate, and then we'll have a little bit of fun. Okay.
Okay.
Someone has a baby, boy or girl. Do you think they should buy do you think their family, it's good, they should buy a pet, a cat, a dog, or something like that?
I think it depends on the family, and it depends on where they are in their life. Like,
that's a very presidential answer.
We are back in our apartment in Palatine, up a couple of flights of stairs, and we just had a baby in a 2-bedroom apartment, and we go out and buy a German Shepherd. I mean, no. Like, I don't think that's a good idea. But I think...
I'm asking the overall.
Yeah, I'm saying, I think it depends on... It depends on the situation.
The people watching want an answer out of you.
Okay. I don't think the people watching care about if you
yes,
should
they
buy
do.
a pet or not. But
people look to you as a source of information.
I would absolutely get a new pet if I had a baby. Like, I'm not against it,
okay.
but I think it's you now change the type of pet you're buying, right? Or adopting. So, do you want to go out and adopt a dog that has had a really difficult past and is
my sister just got a dog.
Right, but prone to biting people when you have an infant? Maybe not. Like, you're going to have to spend so much time with this dog. Like, with your sister's dog, like, they're spending a lot of time to bring her out of her shell.
Yeah.
So making sure that you have a dog with the right temperament for the situation, yeah, I'm all for it. Mm-hmm. But should you buy a dog who's been through the ringer and could potentially, like, eat your baby's arm? Probably not.
Oh, look where you took it.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so that's where you stand on it. I think it's interesting just because there's a lot of people out there that grew up with no pets. You grew up with a lot of pets.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to hear both sides of it. Mm-hmm. Now let's switch it a little bit, okay?
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think, like, before you lived with Bella and Charlie, do you think you would have ever gotten a pet?
It would have never crossed my mind.
Until you had kids who said, Dad, can I get a dog?
But then I would have even just been like, you know, I never grew up with a dog, and look how great I turned out.
Okay.
But I never grew up with a dog. I think it was because we lived in a complex that didn't allow dogs, so it never once crossed my mind to have a dog. I was allergic to cats, like I said. My mom once told us that she had a pet skunk that she got descented. So like to me, it was just like no dog or weird skunk. So like it never crossed my mind. So even I'd have an argument with my daughter, not an argument, but I'd have a conversation with her and say, I grew up without a dog, and maybe I would give in and get her a dog or something like that and see where it went. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But my side of the argument or conversation would be, I never had a dog, you know? And I don't know how that conversation would have went. People have to talk about that stuff every day.
Okay.
So there's that.
Okay.
Some light stuff. Do you think dog owners start to look like their pet after a certain amount of time that they spent with them? So like, I'm sure there's a social media account or something like that, but I've seen it in movies and TV shows where like, there's those big fluffy dogs and like their owner will have like big fluffy hair. Can you think of anybody that
I think the only reason this would happen is because the owner starts styling their dog like them. So let me give an example. So if I had a poodle that has big fluffy hair and I gave the poodle a blowout and then like
blew your hair out.
And then I also blew my hair out, like maybe you start to look together, or like you gave your dog pigtails and you give yourself pigtails, like something that like you're intentionally or maybe you're doing it not even intentionally, that you're like, oh, I like this hairstyle. Or some people have Yorkies with the long haired ones, and then they do like the little pony right here, like if you also do your hair like that and like a half up half down, like something like that.
See, that would creep me out a little bit, just because like that's a little much with your pets, and like people love their pets, but it's just I don't know if I could wrap my head around you starting to match your outfits.
Well, I mean, we don't dress our dogs in outfits, but the only time we dress our dogs in outfits is Halloween. When it's like Halloween and when it's like negative 97 degrees out and we have to put like a coat on them because they literally freeze. But other than that, like we don't dress our dogs. But no, I mean, some people who are like really into dog fashion like might start looking like their pet because they start matching their outfits or things like that. But in general, just no, I don't think people look like their pets.
Okay, let's go to pet names.
Okay.
So run through some of the pet names that you've had.
I could tell you all my dogs' names. Dustin was my parents' dog when I was born. Okay. Then we got Tipper, then Roxanne, Ali, and Goliath. And now we have Bella and Charlie. So
it sounds like you've had like dogs. Some normal names in there, but then you've also had like Goliath sounds like something.
Well, Goliath was the German Shepherd that we had, and he bit our neighbor. And so we had Goliath, and he bit our neighbor. He was like super protective, and Taryn was like walking him in our neighbor's yard, and the neighbor started yelling at Taryn for like being over there, and so the dog like bit her. Like Charlie would probably bite someone if they started like going off on us. Like, I guess, he's super
and that's
protective.
why I feel like dogs open yourself up to a lot more. It's like challenging. Now, someone could sue you,
right?
Or like,
and so
for something that you can't really control. We had to give
the dog to. They said, because some people say that dog has to be put down, and it was a German Shepherd, so we didn't do that, but we had to give it away, and we gave it away to a family that like could really like let the dog run more, because that was like his like he loved to run, and we lived in a neighborhood, and so
I've also heard, and I don't know if this is true, that like if a dog doesn't get adopted after a certain amount of days or something.
Some are kill shelters. Some,
which is like terrible.
Yeah, but if they don't get adopted, and so I mean,
That's why shout out to Bob Barker. After every Price is Right, he would be like, get your dogs neutered and sprayed or whatever, and adopt dogs. So Bob Barker was fighting a good fight.
Yeah, adopt, don't shop. I mean, we always adopted our dogs. Growing up, we would go to Lollipop Farm and get our dogs there, but then
that would be a little deceiving to me if my parents were telling me we were going to Lollipop Farm. I'd be like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I don't know much about Lollipop Farm. If anyone's in the area and they know about it, and it's not a good shelter, but that's where I know.
I would think it's just a candy farm.
I know it's not, but like we used to go and we would like I remember when we got our dog Roxanne. I was really young, And we went and we like met with a bunch of dogs and found the one that was like the best fit.
It's serious.
For our family.
Like, so when my sister got her dog, she said that like they had to go through like an interview process and like.
Well,
make
yeah,
sure
I mean, like you said, anybody could get a dog. They want to make sure, like, especially dogs that are coming from like shelters that have like, Mabel's been through a lot, so they want to make sure they're not giving a dog away to somebody who's gonna, harm them or do something like that. And there's so many people who do so many great things for dogs, like fostering dogs. And they, do that, which is wonderful.
And there's people who do terrible things to dogs too.
People who do terrible things to animals. And
all animals.
They're disgusting people like that. I mean,
and that's
people
why
who do terrible things to humans. Like there's so many bad people on the planet, but there's a lot of good people who do good things.
It's interesting because like, and I've spoken about this to you before, but it's stuff like that. But in some cultures, like cockfighting is big, and it's like it's sad, but for a whole community, like they probably defend that because that's what they've known traditionally.
And I don't know much about that culture or much about cockfighting, but I personally would.
Or bullfighting, or like even like dog fighting.
Yeah,
in some
and
communities.
this is why like when I was in San Diego recently, we took Nix to the San Diego Zoo and. It was great. I mean, every animal was just like, doggy, doggy, to the elephants. I'm like, no, but also when I'm there, I just feel so terrible for these animals. And then we saw the chimpanzees and or the gorillas. Mm-hmm. And they were telling us they're bred in captivity and they'll stay in captivity. Like they're never going to know another life. Zoos, I heard,
are just not great.
But at the same time, if they're out in the wild, they're getting poached and killed, and it's like then they're endangered, and then they're wiped out, and it's like it's and a lot of not a lot of zoos, but I think like the Bronx Zoo, like they have like a ton of land for the animals to like
but they're still not like in their environment.
Right.
Like, you could simulate a rainforest, or you could simulate a Sahara
but at the
desert.
same time, it's like if they're out in the wild, they're getting freaking poached by the Trumps.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's people that go out and show kill, which is just...
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it's a really challenging thing, and it's like, every time I leave a zoo, I'm like, you love to see the animals, but it's like they're on display for human entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, I put that into flip side, like when I go to Dominican Republic or something like that, and I see these dogs just roaming the street, and like they're skinny, or like they have 3 legs or something. Right. They're free in a sense, where they can go wherever they want.
They're really struggling.
They're struggling because they don't have food and stuff like that. So it's interesting because like, I mean, that happens to people here in jails. It's just like, a lot of people say sometimes they did a crime and commit a crime and go to jail because they're going to get food and they're going to get a bed. Whereas if they're out in the street, they don't get any of that and they're homeless and they don't eat. So that's a whole different topic, different debate. Let's lighten it up with one more question.
Okay.
And this one, we know some people, we won't name names, but do you think your pets should have their own social media account? So...
I'm not against it.
Okay.
I like light and fun Instagram accounts. Mm-hmm. Like I mean I don't know if pets having other things. Maybe some pets have Twitter. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be a little much.
I don't really know, but
because pictures is fine. Once you start,
we'll talk about social media on another one. But you know how I feel about just Instagram and just it's like people put it like a show of their life. It's like. It's not real. It's not like anything that's like reality. It's just like this highlight reel. Like my kids are perfect. My life is perfect. I've never struggled a day with anything in my life. And like that's why like I am so like off and on with it. But I love to see like animals and like it's just like
because they can't fake anything.
Yeah, they're just like like you see like I'm thinking of one friend that has huge dogs and like you see them sitting on someone's lap and I'm just like that's funny. It's just like this dog is like a human but it's like a dog and it's like the size of a horse and it's just like I enjoy that and that like as you're scrolling through and you're like all these like bullshit pages and things like that and then you get to like a funny cute animal. It's just I personally love animals though.
I think you just flip my mindset on it and I wasn't a fan of it before. Mm-hmm. I thought, like, if the owner has an account, that's one thing, and then it's just, like, extra if they have, like, an account for their dog. And a lot of times I didn't accept the friend request because it was just, like... But in a sense, you're right. It's almost, like, refreshing, and, like, it's almost better to see that than a fake, like, Instagram post from someone that, like, is not doing everything that they think they're doing. So like seeing a dog, you know, sitting with the remote control in his hand is almost like, okay, that's funny because like that dog doesn't know what's going on.
What's funny is like some animals do things that are like just so funny, you know, like this isn't funny to anybody else except for me and maybe
well, there are viral videos of
like when Bella, when we get home and Bella is like in her dog bed cuddling with a package of baby wipes, like it's like, what?
Yeah.
And we will go on the video camera and watch her like go and take them and bring them over to her bed. Like, why? And,
I think there's something
that just,
about
like cracks me up.
Yeah, I think there's something about, and this happens with young children too. It's just like almost that sense of they don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it. So
it's like an innocence
funny.
that is just like funny.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, you flipped my mind on that. I didn't think I was gonna change on that. I'm a fan of social media pet accounts. So if you've got a social media pet account, you're allowed to friend Corin's World.
Okay.
Not my personal account. Corin's World, I'll accept it. But yeah, no, you flipped my mind on that. Good job. So that's really like what I wanted to go through with pets. I mean, like, I feel like I've had a lot more bad experiences with pets than I have good. I mean, I have had great times with your two dogs, and like if I'm having a bad day, they'll cuddle up with me. But the bad times of like having to walk them on a freezing cold night or coming home from a trip and there's toilet paper all over the top shelf and not top shelf, like all over the floor and just ripped up things. To me, and I'm going to stay strong on my stance where like I'm just not a pet person. I've had goldfish and it's fun for a couple days until they die or something like that, because I'm sure in middle school you're really not allowed to keep like a goldfish in one of those Ziploc bags, and people do that for an extended amount of time. I am a fan of Tamagotchi pets, if anybody still has those out there. Those, if you don't want to get your kid a pet, is a great responsibility builder. The poo will build up on the screen. They die if you don't take care of them. So it's like the same thing as having a pet, just an electronic game.
Okay.
So that's my stance on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. A pet is a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of negatives that, you know, come along with it. I think you have to evaluate what is right for you, and if you're going to be gone all day, maybe you get a cat, and, you know, really explore those options. I feel like this is a video of us telling people if they should decide to get a pet or not.
Yeah, no, because it's just, I don't think
But I think at the end of the day, for me, I'm a pet person. I've loved having dogs my whole life, but that's not for everybody. And I think for a lot of people, pets can bring a lot of joy to their life. And, you know, just having, like, when you travel, like, having the dogs here and I'm home alone, like, I love having them here with me. And, you know, on a road trip, or sometimes they're super annoying, but also it's, like, fun to take them places. So, you know, I think it's
interesting
overall,
also to see what type of
if
pets
I'm
people get.
weighing, you know, I would say 100% having dogs, but at the same time, like I said before, our dogs are older. If they pass, I don't think I would want to get a new dog until we live in an area where we have more family, that if we're out of town or we're not traveling as much, because that's a challenge, like, and expensive to find people to, you know, walk your dogs while you're gone, and we never board them, and, you know, that's always a challenge. But I think overall, like, I love having pets, and I think it is a great responsibility to teach kids how to take care of something and give kids chores. I'm a big proponent of giving kids chores from, like, the age Nix is now, like.
So here's a stat, and you always say come with facts.
Okay.
I think there's a trend of people...
This is a stat you think or you know?
Okay. Yeah, no, I can't say it's a stat.
It's not, unless you did research.
Okay, here's a theory. Here's a theory.
Okay, your theory.
Here's a theory that I have. I think my theory is that pet ownership has gone down in recent years. Whereas in the past, like the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot more people had pets.
A lot of them have pets.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And a lot of them are newer.
Let me finish my theory. I think it's going back up now of people who are interested.
The dip?
The dip was from 2014 to 2018.
Maybe in our friend range, because that's
I just feel
not
like a lot more people had pets.
That's
back
not an ideal in our age range. when you graduate college and you're like figuring out life, you're out, you're partying, you're doing stuff, you're probably not buying a pet right away. But then once you start, you know, your family, you buy a house, you're like, oh, I have a house, I have a yard.
But even when I was a young kid, did all your friends have
Yes.
They all had
pets?
pets?
They all had pets.
None of my friends really had pets.
But
I don't know
also
if it was just like a downstate New York thing versus an upstate New York thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Look at where you live versus where I live. Like, you had a lot of friends that lived in complexes.
Complexes or city or like a
right,
bigger
like
city.
it's a more like urban.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Right, urban.
Yeah, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more things to do.
I grew up in a very rural area where people have like houses and land and like I have
more
friends with like
life.
horses and like I have multiple friends with like horses
yes.
and that kind of thing. Whereas do you have friends maybe like they had family upstate with a horse or something like that.
Yeah.
But like that was a big even in right across from like Lollipop Farm there's like a horse crossing sign like where I grew up. So like
I think it also plays them geographically. What word am I looking for? Geographically.
Yeah.
Geographically, where you live also probably is a big contributor on whether you think.
But maybe
pets
you
are great.
had people growing up who had cats.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like my complex allowed cats.
Right.
I knew people that had like a lot of cats, and yeah, I mean like.
It's just different, and that's like when you're getting a pet, you have to decide like what makes sense.
I'd be curious, and I'm sure there's a stat out there if people have if there's more cats or dogs as a pet. You know, probably it's got to be dogs because there's so many different types of dogs.
Some people who have cats have multiple cats.
That's a good point too. Damn, if anybody knows that answer, let us know because there are so many different types of dogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of stray cats where we live.
Stray cats, but are there different types of cats? I know there's like a black cat.
Yeah, there's like tons of different kinds of cats.
But
there's
different breeds of cats?
Like.
Or are they all from like the same cat?
I mean, they're all felines.
Yeah.
I don't know much about cats. I've never.
It's interesting.
But like dogs are all dogs, and there's all the different breeds. So yeah, there's like different breeds of cats.
Yeah, true.
Different breeds of dogs.
All right. Well, yeah, I think it where you live also plays a big part probably on if you are a pet owner or pet lover or a pet like person who feels people should have pet. Mm-hmm. That's my take on it. I've never been from a place that likes pets. So sorry.
Well, we have them, so.
Well, we have pets, so I sort of got molded into that. So I'd be curious what people think. I mean, like, do you have a weird pet? Tell me. But that's all I got. I wanted to pick your brain because we have two differing opinions on pets, and I know a lot of people out there.
This is one that our opinion isn't that different. I mean, the
we
opinion
grew up
is different. We grew up different, and the opinion is that you weren't a pet person, and now you have pets.
Yeah.
So like you're not against pets. It's not like you're like, oh, pets are so dumb. Whereas like I think before you were like, I don't understand why people are upset when their pet passes, but now you get it.
I'm more open to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've also never really had like a close relative pass away or anything like that, so I've never felt that. Mm-hmm. So I've never had that sympathy for someone because I've never felt that thing.
You've not experienced pet loss or human loss, whereas I've experienced a lot of both. And
that happens with a lot of things. Like you'll see like a Republican politician or something like that who's very against gay marriage or something, but then they'll have a child who comes out to be gay and they'll be for it.
How does that relate to
well,
pets?
because you not to pets, but
so
sympathizing.
You're saying then they change because it's something. Yeah, I mean that's like with anything. Like you're for it until, or like people who are young who are like, oh, you should do things this way, and then when you get older and you have more life experience, you're like, oh, I understand why I shouldn't do something stupid or whatever. Like
you grow and evolve.
You grow and you learn from your life experiences, and I mean that's with anything in life. The more experience you have, and that's why. Not all times, but a lot of time people who are older have more life experience and have just gone through more and they know more. And then, I've been through more than you and just know a lot more than you.
Yeah, that's not true. But let's leave people on, do you have any one last funny or crazy story that has happened with one of your pets that you want to... I know you went to college and you weren't supposed to have pets and you've snuck your dogs into college. So you were a little rebel, but like...
I did have a dog, Bella, in my dorm room freshman year.
But is there anything that you can remember, like, pet-wise, that, like, just stands out in your mind? Like, I don't know. You always talk about the first time Amy got you a dog. But, like, is there anything that stands out that you're just like, if because our dogs are old, if they pass away or something like that, that you'll just be like, damn, I remember that one time I took one of my dogs to Disney World. Like,
no,
there's nothing that stands out on the top of your mind, like crazy stories
nothing
that
crazy.
have happened.
I mean, they're dogs. Like, they haven't done, it's not like they're, like, doing anything crazy. I mean, I've had a lot of great times. I mean, I would say, though, probably the craziest experience, just pets in general, that we've had in our life is we got 2 gerbils from our next door neighbor. They were having like a garage sale, and we like went over there, and they're like, gerbils for sale, and they had 2, and they were like, they're both girls. So we're like, okay, great. So they give us the whole gerbil like setup, and they were in my sister and I shared a room growing up, and they creeped me out. I was
Gerbils creep me out. Hamsters on their hamster wheels creep me out.
So every night they would take like the wheel, and it would like flip it, and my mom would always go in there and she'd flip the wheel back up, and they would flip it down, and then she realized, she's like, oh my god, it's pregnant. Like, the one gerbil was pregnant.
So she was covering herself?
She was building like a nest, like not like a nest, but like a bed for her to like go on. So then she had the gerbil babies, and it's just like creeps me out, like even thinking about this, but she had, I don't know, it was like 8 or 9 gerbil babies.
Wow.
And the dad ate one. So then we had to take the dad out of the cage. And
what?
Yeah, so it's like one of the animals that they like eat their babies.
That's insane.
The dad ate one.
Oh, I don't want to hear that story.
Okay.
I wanted a good story.
And then
I got a good story.
But then, so we had these little, like, these things are like this big, like these gerbil babies are like this big, and they're naked. They have no hair. They're like little pink things. And we used to like want to pick them up and like, pet them. And so
what?
That was probably the craziest thing.
Like,
not intentionally having gerbil babies, but we had them.
Okay, I'm gonna brighten it up with a little bit better story than that. I mean, that was a good story, but
yeah, I know.
It
gives you the like heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, I do have memories of being in like science class when I was super young, and the best, I guess you can consider this a pet, but like when what was it, a caterpillar cocooned into a butterfly.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like little ducklings.
No, never had little.
You never had those in school?
Never had
ducklings. My gosh, if you had ducks in school, let us know.
The only ducklings I remember is from a Saved by the Bell episode.
I didn't see it.
Where they have these little ducklings, and they put them in like the pond right next to the high school. And for some reason, there was like a big oil company that was like drilling by the high school, and it was a big debate. And shout out to Saved by the Bell for like having this conversation of like, they had drug episodes, they had this big oil company episode, but the oil company like contaminated the water, and all the ducks got like totally covered in like oil.
That's sad.
And I remember like Screech and Zach were coming into the room to Mr. Belding with like the ducks, and they were all covered in oil, and it was like such a sad episode. But I will brighten it up. One last story is just, I remember in like elementary school science class, it's crazy to me that a caterpillar can turn into a beautiful butterfly.
It's like the Very Hungry Caterpillar that we read tonight.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's that, and then I want to give a shout out to the Bee Movie also. The Bee Movie is a really good movie. As a random thought. Is it
a cartoon?
You never saw the Bee Movie?
No, is it a cartoon?
Yeah, with Jerry Seinfeld as the bee, and like they lose all their honey, and they have to like work as a community to like.
No.
The Bee Movie is
Netflix,
good.
But...
Ants is a very good movie, but when I was in Colombia, we went to this coffee farm, and the guy who ran the coffee farm suggested, he said he tells everybody to watch the Bee Movie because it's a great movie on like community and building all that stuff. So I'll leave you on that note. But that's pets. I don't think you can have a bee as a pet. People have
bees.
Oh yeah, they have bee farms and stuff like that.
Like make honey and
that's
stuff.
True. Okay, yeah. So if you are into bees, watch the Bee Movie. And people have ants too because they have ant farms.
Yeah, that's a no-go for me.
I guess you could really have every type of pet.
Not every pet.
You can't have like an
elephant or a dolphin.
People probably have baby elephant pets. In like the safari. Okay, that ends our pet chat. But like I think it's interesting.
Okay. So one last thing. So we have a bunch of topics for other episodes. But I'd be interested what
people want us to talk about?
Yeah, cuz our opinions really matter.
I'll be blunt. Molly doesn't think people are interested in pets. I think you guys are. So tell us who you side with, and then also give us some ideas of stuff to talk about.
Okay.
Thanks for watching.